I've seen A Quiet Place day one, and it's easily one of my favourite watches of this year so far. Let's get into my non-spoiler review. I'm so excited to talk more about this movie. So A Quiet Place day one takes place on day one of this alien invasion. These aliens, if you don't know, are called Death Angels. Isn't that so badass? And they are the ones from part 1 and part 2 if you've seen A Quiet Place before. And this movie is set in New York with Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn as the main protagonists. And I want to talk about the sound first and foremost here, because if you've seen A Quiet Place, parts 1 and 2 that is, you know that sound is quite rare in these movies. In the first 20 minutes of this, they do an amazing job of really showing you these sounds that you hear in everyday life that are just about to get ripped away from you. So obviously it's in New York, as I said, and you hear car sirens, you hear police alarms, you hear bike bells, you just hear so much sounds that are going on in the city, like a city ambience basically. But as the invasion begins, everything just cuts to silence, and I think the sound design was impeccably done in this. They did such a good job of really contrasting that, especially, as I said, in the first act in particular, in the first like 20 minutes or so. They really hone in on the sounds that you hear, and they're very loud and they're put in your face so that you can't really miss them, and they get taken away from you. And it is a really cool difference that you can tell, because things get quiet quite quick. And I want to say well done to the marketing team for not telling us anything about Lupita Nyong'o's character, because I did not know her backstory going into this movie. I didn't see it in any promotional material, and it hit me like a steam train. And I'm not going to say anything else, but I think her character's backstory made me connect so well with her on screen. I actually felt stakes for her, and you know, everything that was going on around the city, she just cared about one particular little like side quest that she wanted to do. You know, everyone's like, oh my god, aliens are invading, we're all gonna die, and she's just like, I want to go to this one specific place for this one specific reason, and I don't care if there's aliens invading, I'm gonna do that anyways. And although it might kind of seem a little bit silly, and I don't want to tell you what it is that she wants to complete, but it's very emotional for her and it's very personal for her. And I think that made it a story that you can really connect with. And I think she did a great job by conveying emotions just from her eyes. Like, there's scenes where you can just tell exactly how she's feeling and what she would like to say just by her eyes. And she did a great job, as I knew she would. And Joseph Quinn was great as well. I've seen a lot of people say he has no sauce and that he probably can't be a AAA Hollywood star, but I thought he was great, and he contrasted Lupita Nyong'o's character very well, and the two of them together got themselves through this mess of the invasion, and I thought they were great together and they had great chemistry on screen. Anxiety and tension is on the same level as parts 1 and 2, and it's heightened even more by introducing Frodo the cat, who, if you're an animal lover, you will be on the edge of your seat making sure that nothing happens to that cat. And I think that was one thing that I really was making sure I was in every scene looking for the cat. I was like, where is the cat? Where's the cat? Please tell me it's okay. Now, I mean, you can nitpick it and you can say, in reality, that cat's gonna meow and be gone in 2 seconds. But Frodo was great, but John Krasinski knew what he was doing by including this cat in that script, because he was like, right, I'm gonna make people even more scared, more anxious by putting a cat in the mix. So yeah, it worked. The final shot in this movie is chef's kiss. I'm not gonna tell you anything about it, but I loved it. The final shot, the final closing section of this movie, there's a song playing, right, and something happens on a beat of the song, and I thought it was so creative, so well done, and a really good way to close this movie. In my opinion, this is how you do a really good prequel. This is a ground zero invasion storyline, and yeah, some people are going to complain that it didn't expand the lore and the world of A Quiet Place more, and I get that, I do, but you have to remember, this is day one of the invasion, so these creatures have just come to Earth and no one knows about them because they've just arrived. So it's going to take time in that world to figure out who they are and what they're all about. So I didn't really personally expect too much more from that, but it does link in with A Quiet Place Part 2. So if you've seen that, you'll kind of understand something that happens, and a certain character appears in both, who you've probably seen in marketing. So yeah, I thought this was just an incredible ground zero storyline that had emotional characters, high stakes, and very personal stakes, as I mentioned, and that made it a movie that honestly had me crying like 2 times, and I was like, why am I crying right now at this movie? I did not expect to, but I did, and I think that was really anchored down by the performances of Lupita Nyong'o in particular, and Joseph Quinn. So for all of those reasons, I could keep on gushing about this movie, but I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10. It's almost the perfect movie for me. I love part 1 and 2, and I think I gave them 4.5 stars as well when I reviewed them, so this one sits right up there with the other two. I think it's a great entry into this franchise, and I really hope that they continue this for a few more years because I love these movies, and I think you should give it a watch this weekend.